Hi, boys and girls. I am here with the continuation of our story. Remember when God told Moses to go be his leader and go to Egypt and let the king know that he needed to free the Israelite people, the slavery that they were being forced into needed to stop and they needed to go? Well, Moses didn't want to do that right away. And he said, I don't know how to speak well. I'm not a good leader. I'm not very brave. What if the people don't believe me? And God told Moses, Go, I will be with you. And he even said in another part of the Bible, he said, I'm going to give your brother Aaron to you as a helper so he can do all the speaking for you if you get nervous and you don't want to go by yourself. So Moses went. And when Moses went to the king, he told the king exactly what God told him. He said, Pharaoh, you need to let God's people go. God told me that they need to go out into the desert. They need to be able to worship him. They shouldn't be treated with disrespect and be your slaves. They need to go. And you know what that king said? He said no. And he made them work harder. He was an angry king. He was a mean king. And it was very, very tough for the Israelites, for God's people. And finally, God said, Moses, bad things are going to come upon the king and his people, the Egyptians. And tell the king, until he changes his mind, I'm going to keep sending these bad things. So look behind me on our learning objective, our learning target poster. It says, your student-friendly learning target is, I will tell two of the plagues. I will tell what two of the plagues are. Plagues are bad, horrible, nasty things that happen to the people. And God sent 10 of these plagues to the king and his people. So I want you to listen for two of them that you can tell me with our story today. All right. This is a little bit of a longer Bible story, so I want you to listen because I have a goal for you, your target. Listen to two things. Ready? Here we go. Moses grew up as an Egyptian prince, but he never forgot he was a Hebrew. When he saw an Egyptian beat a Hebrew slave, Moses was so angry that he killed the Egyptian. Moses knew that Pharaoh would have him put to death for this, so he ran away to the desert. There he began to work as a shepherd. One day, as he was looking after his sheep, he saw a burning bush. This is the part of the story that we talked about on Monday and Tuesday this week. When he went closer, he saw that although there were flames, the bush itself wasn't being burned up. Then Moses heard God speak to him. This is what God told him. Moses, you must go back to Egypt. God told him, ask the Pharaoh to let the Hebrews go. He won't want to, but I will make him, and everyone will know that I am God. Then you must bring the Hebrews to me on Mount Sinai, and I will show them the way to a good land, to a new home. I want you to look up at these pictures so you can see what some of the plagues are that are coming for the Egyptians. Moses was frightened, but he knew he must obey God. He and his brother Aaron went to the Pharaoh and asked him to free the Hebrews. No, replied the Pharaoh angrily, and he made the Hebrew slaves work even harder. God told Moses to go back to the Pharaoh. This time, Moses said, if you won't let the Hebrews go, terrible things will happen in Egypt. But again, the Pharaoh refused. Then terrible things happened. First, are you listening? First, the water of the river Nile turned into blood. Not just a little bit. The whole thing was bright and red. Just like our Lake Michigan is a really big body of water, that's what happened. The whole thing turned into blood. No one could drink it, and all the fish that lived in that river died. Soon after that, thousands and thousands of frogs hopped out of the river and into all of the Egyptian houses. They were in people's beds, in their ovens, even in their food. The frogs took over everything. Then tiny gnats, they're like little bugs, crawled out of the dust, and clouds of horrible flies filled the Pharaoh's palace and the houses of the Egyptians. Still, the Pharaoh would not let the Hebrews go. Are you listening for two plagues? Okay, I'm going to ask you in a little bit. Here's the next part. Next, the Egyptians' animals died, and the Egyptian people broke out in horrible sores. Huge hailstones flattened all their crops, and swarms of locusts, that's grasshoppers, ate what was left. Hail are little ice chunks that are way up in the clouds, and then instead of rain falling down, it's these little tiny pellets of ice. So the hail was there, and then the grasshoppers ate their crops. Then clouds hid the sun, and it was dark for 3 days. So the sun stopped shining for 3 days. Even after this, the Pharaoh wouldn't free the Israelites. The most terrible thing of all was still to come. God warned Moses about it and told him how to keep the Hebrews safe. Each Hebrew family killed a lamb and put a little blood on the doorpost on their house. Then they roasted the lamb and ate it with flat bread and herbs. That night, the oldest boy of every Egyptian family died. But death passed over the Hebrews. God said that the Hebrews should always remember that night and mark it with a special festival called the Passover. Are you listening? Do you remember 2 of those things? And then after that last plague, the 10th plague, when the oldest boys died, Pharaoh was finally sad and angry enough that he said, Moses, leave, get these Hebrews out of my country. And that is how God freed the Israelites. Now let's look back to our student-friendly learning targets. I will tell what 2 of the plagues are. This isn't just a made-up story. This actually really happened. What were 2 things that happened to Pharaoh and his people in Egypt? There was blood. There were insects. What were those hopping little creatures that were getting into their beds and their ovens and their food, and they're stepping on them probably? Yeah, the frogs came, and the people, they broke out in sores, and their animals got sick and died. And what happened to the sun? Yeah, it stopped shining for 3 days. God used his almighty power to do those things, and it finally softened and opened Pharaoh's heart to letting the people go. And God used that to carry out his plan to take them to a new home. Just like God has a plan for us, and he's using his almighty power to bring that to come true as well. All right, I want you to now please fold your hands. We're going to do a prayer. Ready? Repeat after me. Dear Jesus, thank you for watching over me. Thank you for watching over me. Thank you for keeping me safe. Thank you for keeping me safe. Please watch over me. Please watch over me and help me to obey. And help me to obey. Amen. Amen. All right, I will see you tomorrow for the next part of our story.